Well, good morning, friends. I would like to welcome everyone here today, especially the first-timers who are enjoying the weekend in this wonderful environment of Ananda Village. And I would like to begin today's exploration with the reading from Whispers from Eternity. The caravan of my prayers is moving toward thee. The caravan of my prayers is moving toward thee. In the eyes of kindness, I behold glimmers of thy mercy. Even the bare trees of dark lives flicker with the myriad glowworms of thy shining life. The caravan of my prayers have been working its way slowly through dry wastes of arid doubts and furious sandstorms of despondency. Yet at last, far-off glimpses of thy oasis of silent assurance have roused me in my drooping efforts. Eagerly I await the moment that I can dip into thy revivifying waters my parched, thirsty lips of faith, and there drink deeply from thy well of bliss. This is a beautiful reading that we see from the Bible, where Jesus encourages all of us to pray believingly. That's a pretty tall order. But Paramhansa Yogananda offers us the secret ingredients to live life with deeper faith and to pray with that kind of conviction. In the autobiography of a yogi, in the chapter Two Penniless Boys to Vrindavan, Go to Vrindavan, we see an episode that is not only endearing between two brothers, but also quite invigorating when it comes to living our life with deeper faith. And Yogananda's brother Ananta challenges Yogananda, the young Mukunda's faith in God, and says, "Do you really think your Divine Mother will provide everything?" And he says, "Absolutely, of course." It's like, "Okay, I'll put it to the test. Go to Vrindavan without a penny to your name, and you have to not only see the city, but you have to be fed, and you have to return without telling a soul of your predicament." And Yogananda, convinced that Divine Mother will be there for him, said, "Absolutely," without a hesitation. He said, "I embrace your challenge." But what was interesting, after he embraced that challenge, and he revealed to us a secret that I want us to take into our spiritual lives, that I have found to be incredibly encouraging. He says yes, without hesitation, but then he goes on to write for our benefit all the blessings he received so far in his life that reminded him, that assured him that Divine Mother was with him. Whether it was passing his high school exams, finding his guru, there were a number of others. And that is the conscious use of our memory. And that's how we build our faith, because isn't faith born of experience? And there's not a person in this room, not a person online, maybe not a person in this world that has not felt Divine Mother's touch in some way or another. And of course, as Yoganandaji defines self-realization as improving our knowing of those blessings. And so just think for a moment the circumstances that led you to the autobiography of a yogi. Quite miraculous, isn't it? We just returned from India, and if you're ever wondering how to start a conversation with somebody, ask them, "How did you find the autobiography of a yogi?" And it opens up these wonderful doors of a person's life being completely redirected to that book. And even if they resist the book, it keeps calling them, and they eventually pick it up and their lives are changed. And so as we are stretched beyond our comfort zones, I think all of us who are sincerely seeking God, it is the purpose of life to stretch us out of our comfort zone, to ask us to do things that we're not yet ready to do, either outwardly or inwardly. But if we recall to mind those moments of blessing, and not only replay the circumstances of those blessings, but feel their inherent power, the mark of a true spiritual experience is what? Lasting effect. And that vibration lives within us, sort of a window to the infinite has been opened. So draw on that. But really, as we embark on this long rhythm project of self-realization, and as we develop this inward effort to pray deeply and sincerely, what's the first step? It might sound obvious, but it's something we constantly have to remind ourselves. We have to draw on divine support. Because so long as I think I'm the doer, I've got this under control, I'm confident in myself, I close the door for grace. Where is there room for God when I'm thinking about I, me, mine all the time? So knowing, and only a little bit of reflection, introspection would suffice for us to realize, wow, there's a lot of things in our life that is just out of our control. These deep karmic tendencies that, as Yogananda said in his poem, subconsciously lurk, influencing us, guiding us, impacting our decisions. And so long as we think we have this, those influences will continue to influence us. Yes, we'll make some progress, but it's the liberating touch of God's light which sets us free. And so there's this beautiful story of this man who was diagnosed with diabetes and he was dying. And the doctor had given him maybe 6 months to live. And he felt, well, let me put all my energy into my spiritual life and lay my life at the Lord's feet. And so he dedicated all his waking time to prayer and meditation, increasing his efforts day by day. And finally, a wondrous vision broke out. And he just saw this shaft of light filling his consciousness, radiating through his body cells, feeling this ecstasy of oneness with God. And that experience gradually faded. And he later on went to the doctor for his checkup. And the doctor, quite astonished, said, "You've been healed. You no longer have this fatal disease." And the doctor was confused. The devotee knew what happened, but he was a little frustrated. He went home and said, "Divine Mother, I prayed to be with you. I didn't pray to be healed." And the response came, "Wherever my light shines, darkness cannot be. Disease cannot be." And so it is for all of us. Every time we are challenged in life, every time we feel a shortcoming impeding our progress, this is fuel for our prayer. When we see the life of Swami Kriyananda, and we see the later years of Swami Kriyananda when he couldn't even discuss or share the story of how he was drawn to Master's feet, he couldn't even share that without tearing up. He couldn't talk about his Divine Mother without crying with this overwhelming sense of her love. Well, how did he arrive to that tearful receptivity? By holding nothing back by his Divine Mother. And so it's up to us when we feel ourselves challenged. Do we simply turn away from that challenge, turn away from the uncomfortable truth within, and stuff it deep in ourselves, hoping it never will come back? Sweeping it under the rug, the rug, and see, oh, it'll just work itself out. Or do we courageously reflect and face the fact that this is a doorway to infinite consciousness? This is the path that God is laying out before us for our liberation. So let's harness the power, the inherent power in all these experiences and all these aspects of our consciousness, and feed our prayer with this fuel, feed our meditation with this yearning, so that we know that we cannot live, we cannot take a single breath if it wasn't from the gift of God. So let's honor that and seek that support ever more deeply, and then our life just becomes one continual act of prayer after another, whether mentally, verbally, in our kriya, in our service. Everything becomes an expression of that yearning of wanting to be free from all limitation. But when we do pray, it's important not to pray for a specific circumstance. It's important to pray for a change of consciousness. You know, Sister Gyanamata, as we all have heard many times, Lord, was her prayer. Lord, change not the circumstance, change me. And so it is, why should we waste our time? Why should we waste God's time praying for something that's temporary? Because we may get our way sometimes. He may answer our prayers and we get the ice cream cone we really want, and we're like, wow, He loves us, He's always with us. But duality reigns supreme in this world. What goes up, goes down. Circumstances are pleasing, they're displeasing. And if we base our faith on the constantly fluctuating circumstances of this life, where does that leave us? We're on the roller coaster. We're a bouncing ball, never really finding what true faith is. There's this beautiful story in the life of Swami Kriyananda. When he first purchased the meditation retreat 6 miles from here, and he was attempting to build the first structures. And he was making a lot of the structures dome-shaped. And if you've ever seen a dome that's built, it's made from triangles put together. And there was that one last piece he needed to put in place before the structural integrity was there. But just before he was able to do that, a gust of wind came and knocked the building down. And what was left was just shredded plastic and splintered 2x4s. Nai Swami Jyotish was present, and he saw this happen. And he saw Swami Kriyananda go off into the woods by himself. And Jyotish imagined, he went there to collect himself, kind of regather his center and reflect on what to do next. But what he overheard was Swami just saying softly, joy, 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 joy. And that is the power that we gain when we pray for not a change of circumstance, but a change of consciousness. That no matter what happens to us in this world, if we pray for the right perspective, we find the silver lining, the gold lining in every circumstance. Because we all have heard many times, God is not absent from our life. Everything is a reflection of God's consciousness. And so it's up to us to develop that divine X-ray vision to draw God out of his hiding place so that we can feel his response every moment of our lives. And so when we pray for our consciousness to change, as our consciousness change, so does our outer reality reflect that change of consciousness. There's this beautiful story in the life of St. Anthony that's in a beautiful book, Saints That Move the World. And as we know, St. Anthony was quite focused on his renunciation. He withdrew from the world, seeking seclusion in the desert, and just withdrawing into these remote caves, hoping he would just remove himself from Maya's temptation. But for most of his life, he was pestered by this temptation. He would hand-to-hand combat with the devil. We hear the stories of just incredible experiences that were incredibly challenging for him, but he persevered. Excuse me. The lingering effects of India. But after many decades of him going inside, praying to God to be free, God responded, and his life was filled with that divine love which permeates all creation. And what was interesting was he made a comment that when I was turning away from life, when I was viewing everything as a threat to my inner consciousness, everything became a threat. But when I discovered in myself that God is love and everything in life is a reflection of that love, I no longer feared, I no longer resisted. And so it is for us, as Swami Kriyananda says, we should live our life samadhi affirming, not world rejecting. And so whatever we're faced with in life, whatever challenges come our way, look at it as simply as an opportunity for us to pray to the specific attitude, to that consciousness that will help us rise above that particular moment in this particular day. And then we just keep going one moment at a time, building that faith in ourselves that it doesn't matter what happens to us externally. What happens to us, what matters is how we respond to it internally. But as we pray again, does God always give us what we want? Wouldn't life be so sweet if that was the case? He doesn't give us always what we want, but he gives us what we need. Shama and I just got back from India about a month ago, and this was Shama's first time. This is the third time I went. And this particular trip was a very inward experience for us both. And whenever I'm sure we all have prepared for any pilgrimage, any trip that we know is going to be spiritually enriching, our prayer life deepens. We really want to get it aligned with what's trying to happen internally and how we can approach the external experience to harness that inner power. And so naturally I was praying, Divine Mother, I want to be closer to thee. I no longer want to seek you externally in this world. I want to feel you always in my heart. But I also wanted to have Krishna juice. And there's this juice bar in Pune that back in 2014, when I lived in India for a while, there was this juice bar that was the top tier of juice. It's Krishna juice. I mean, it had the infusion of Krishna. And we would go there, the brother monks, we would go there often, maybe multiple times a day. And I don't know if this, is considered gluttony, but I definitely had my hands filled with multiple shakes, enjoying every moment. And okay, 10 years later, I know this is a coming pilgrimage. I know this is really to deepen my spiritual life, but I wanted Krishna juice. So when we went to Pune, I was like, Aditya, let's go to Krishna juice. And he was a bearer of bad news. He said it closed down. But I was determined. Such is attachment. I went on Google. I looked up Krishna juice. They didn't close. They moved. So I thought, okay. So we went on this mission one evening. I mean, it's quite a scene because not only is traffic in India crazy. What is it? Oh, Durga Puja was happening. So you have all these, parades, and Jayaji knows all these floats and music and bands. And so we venture off for Krishna juice. We pack into a car, we go around, we arrive to the destination, and Krishna is nowhere to be found. It did close. And I could feel for a moment my heart sort of, I'm disappointed. I'm like, gosh, after all this effort, no Krishna juice. And what was playing on the radio? Desire, my great enemy, with his soldiers surrounding me. And I had to laugh, because it's okay, Divine Mother, even in something as simple as looking for juice, the reminder to my prayer that she is always with me. You don't need to look outside yourself. And it was actually a very sweet reminder that no matter what happens, God is always there, and that's the only true fulfillment. There was this movie we saw many years ago, and it was basically a modern day depiction of Noah's Ark. And so there was this man who out of nowhere felt the inspiration to build an ark for the coming floods. And he was like a corporate person with his suits, and everything was just very, very Dwapara. And all of a sudden, it's like, what is going on? I'm feeling like I'm going crazy, and yet this inspiration is not leaving me. And so he starts building the ark. He starts growing his hair out. He starts wearing the robes of a renunciate. And everyone in his life felt like he was going nuts. And later in the movie, his wife was sort of beside herself with grief, like what happened to my husband, was sitting in a restaurant, and God, serving as the waiter, approached her. And as he was taking her order, said very softly, because he could see she was grieving, "Wasn't it a few years ago you've been praying for patience?" And she looked up at him and said, yes. Well, do you think God is just going to give you patience, or the circumstances to develop patience? And she got it. So it is for us. Our prayers, the way God responds is not to give us these divine states of consciousness, not to just hand over the freedom we seek without us having to work for it. And so God responds by giving us the circumstances, the challenges, the opportunities for us to continue down this path of self-development. And in that development, by saying yes to those opportunities, even if they seem way out of context, I think the important thing here with praying with faith is to remember our entire life is an act of prayer. Never lose sight of the direction you want to go, and then we'll find, and we pick our lives up by that direction, we'll find everything else falls into place. Everything else will shine with a reminder, that's right, this is what it's all for. And so God will provide us the opportunities for us to learn and grow. So when we were just leaving India, and we arrived to the Mumbai airport, the last weekend we spent in India was in Bangalore. And beautiful event with Naya Swamis, Hari Das and Roma. And I could feel a little tickle in my throat, but it never got worse. I said, great, I'm just going to power through this thing. A few more cappuccinos later, I'm ready to go. And it never got worse until the day we left for home. So we drove from Pune to Mumbai airport, slowly getting worse. We land at the Mumbai airport at midnight, slowly getting worse. And come our flight at 4, I felt like a train had hit me. And my throat was completely gone. I could not talk. Fever, aches, a little gentle breeze. I mean, if Shama sneezed, I would have blew over. Like, I felt so bad that there was moments, and I kid you not, I'm not trying to embellish for the sake of the story. There were moments when I felt, is this really how you're gonna take me out, Divine Mother? Like, is this really, like, after a beautiful time, because my heart it felt weak, and I could barely breathe. And so as we were walking through the various airports, you know how it is, international travel, connecting flights, long security lines, the whole joys of travel. And everything I did required 100% of my focus. I didn't have the luxury of being scattered, basically. I had to focus every ounce of energy that I had on whatever task. I mean, I wasn't planning on sharing this aspect, but it's the truth. Shama had asked for, where are my headphones? They're in the overhead compartment. It took me an hour to muster up the will to get up and get the headphones. I was bad. And yet in that experience, the whole point of me sharing this story was we were in Doha airport and we were walking this long corridor. And what stole over me was just this incredible feeling of blessedness. And I felt like because I could not talk and everything required 100% of my focus, there was zero distraction. And I just felt this aura of joy. And I would, Shama, it's so joyful. It was just incredible. And that taught me, yes, the practical teachings of yoga, that silence is the altar of spirit, that we actually expend a lot of our energy talking too much. Our minds are restless, so we distract with all these different things, teachings of yoga. But what really touched me was Divine Mother's blessing, that she was answering my prayer. Now, I would never have prayed to have gotten that sick, but I did pray for a deeper state of her presence, for a deeper remembrance of my Guru's presence in my life. And it was through that cold, through whatever that was, that touched me. And so prayer opens up that channel for us to continue this process of self-discovery, of self-development. And we don't always see the full picture, do we? Right? So when we pray for something that we feel is very important. We end our meditation, we hope, we believe, maybe we have faith that the prayer has been received and God will respond. But then the battle of life picks up. We enter into the throes of the battle of life. And it's so easy for us to lose perspective because life in this world is relative. It doesn't always inspire. It doesn't always uplift. But it's up to us to find that upliftment. It's up to us to give life our energy and to see that it's not about the destination, as we've heard many times. It is about this journey. There's this experience that Dr. Lewis shares in his book. I forget what it's called. But in a way, it's a beautiful book about Dr. Lewis's life in his early years with his guru. And Yogananda, Treasures Against Time, thank you. Yogananda and Dr. Lewis was walking along the beach and somewhere in Massachusetts, I believe, and they saw this rock bluff going out into the sea. And Yogananda said, let's go on those rocks and meditate. And Dr. Lewis said, oh, okay, the guru says so, let's do this. This sounds like a great idea. And Yogananda gets on these jagged, rough rocks with the sea breeze and all these mists hitting him, and he was gone. The avatar went into perfect stillness. He's in Samadhi, he's gone. But Dr. Lewis was struggling. He couldn't get comfortable. Mind was distracted. The doubts started to assail him. All the things that we probably experience some of the time, if not a lot of the time, that useless, negative mental chatter that pulls us away from grace. But what Dr. Lewis kept doing was opening his eyes and seeing Yogananda and reminding himself, if he can do it, I can do it. He's showing me something here. I just got to keep going. And so he kept going, he kept persisting, he kept trying his best to find a comfortable seated position, kept trying his best to gain control over his thoughts, to practice Kriya with devotion. And before you know it, he broke through. And he reached this incredible moment of stillness where he was not aware of the body. He was gone. He was one with Yogananda in that experience. But what was really interesting is that it wasn't just that one moment that was blessed. Dr. Lewis went on to say that after that experience, after that victory, I never struggled again to meditate deeply. My body was never a burden again for my practice. And so that perseverance, that faith to keep taking one step at a time, may not look like much in our day-to-day life, but those are the steps that lead us to victory. And when we break through these mental obstructions of who and what reality is and what we are in relationship to it, we break through it into a new level of understanding. And if we keep going, we never fall back from that. And so praying with faith, we bank on our past experiences, feeling that consciousness living within us all the time. We're not alone. You live not alone. And that consciousness is always guiding us, always helping us, but always loving us. And if we feel that love in our hearts, no matter what happens to us externally, we know with growing faith that we're right where we need to be all the time. God bless. It's a joy to be back with you all.
Joined in prayer we worship Thee, rays of light that seek the sun, many drops to make us see, thus our love when joined as one, thus our love when joined as one. Joined in prayer whether he replies or not, keep calling him. In the temple of unceasing prayer, believe that he's approaching there, and call to him, keep calling him. Thou dost know I'm praying, Lord, you know I love no other. I'll speak not nor ask when to expect from you an answer. You know my heart. I'll call to thee again.
Remain persistent, undepressed, through dark and seeming silence. If in the midst of life disease